Who let the Doge out? That's the focus of tonight's angle. One thing should be really clear by now. The Washington bureaucracy will do anything in its power to avoid accountability. They want to spend your money with impunity on whatever floats their boat. Transparency for the swamp is what modesty is for the Kardashians. Now, this partly explains the Biden administration's mad scramble to Trump-proof various departments and agencies, insulating their pet projects from extinction and their staff from accountability. In Rio this week, Biden tried feebly to protect his climate agenda.
I'm leaving office in January. I will leave my successor and my country a strong foundation to build on if they choose to do so. It's true, some may seek to deny or delay the clean energy revolution that's underway in America. But nobody can reverse it. Nobody.
Nobody. Who can take him seriously in that Tommy Bahamas shirt or whatever? I just can't take him seriously. So what's the implication here? That the voters, they don't have a say. Same playbook they used during COVID, fear and control, whether you like it or not. Because government experts say so.
This is the single greatest existential threat to humanity if we do not deal with climate change. Our children, our great-grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren, their future is going to be determined by what we do in the next 4 to 6 years.
Those participants behind him seem really engaged. Well, wait, did he say that for the next 4 to 6 years? Well, given that Trump has pledged to pull back on the climate change agenda, the Department of Energy right now is racing to blow close to $25 billion in pending loans to supposedly green businesses. Now, Biden apparently wants to cement his climate legacy, according to Politico. So should these federal energy department loan guarantees even continue at all? After all, the $465 million loan to Elon Musk's electric car company, that worked out so well, and it did, that he was able to pay it off early. 2 thumbs up for that. But of course, there's also the infamous Solyndra debacle, leaving taxpayers on the hook for more than $500 million before that went belly up. So will DOGE recommend that Trump do away with a loan program that gave Tesla such a huge boost? It's unclear. But Trump repeatedly said that he wanted to cut the money off in his first term. In our bloated government, there's waste and there's inefficiency. We know it. And more than that, there's fraud everywhere. Hundreds of billions of dollars we know were stolen during COVID. That was the PPE fraud, all those people applying who didn't deserve the money. But there's also welfare fraud as well.
Do you guys have a sense of how much is being stolen?
Billions.
Billions of dollars.
Billions with a B. Every year. The quality control issues that we have are minuscule compared to the fraud.
That is terrifying. So when taxpayers find out how much of their money is wasted on superfluous, inefficient, pointless, whacked-out junk, and then on top of that, the hundreds of billions in fraud, trillions over the years, undoubtedly, I think there's going to be a groundswell of support for the work that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have pledged to do at DOGE. Now, by the way, to ensure that they control their own messaging, the duo is even launching their own podcast. This is brilliant.
Elon and I are going to start a separate track of DOGEcasts that explain exactly what we're doing to the public to provide transparency in what is a once-in-a-generation project. We want to bring the public along with us, to lift the curtain, to take us behind the scenes of what actually that waste, fraud, and abuse in government looks like. However bad you think it is, it's probably worse. But we don't want to do this to just expose the problem. We want to do it to solve the problem.
Now, this is sending shivers up and down the spines of not just senior officials in the outgoing administration, but the hundreds of thousands of federal employees who never came back to work after the pandemic. That's a good gig. Nearly 2/3 of the more than 2.2 million federal workers are still approved to work from home. This is a total joke. Of course, it's also killing D.C. small businesses. It's so bad that liberal Mayor Muriel Bowser is pleading for Trump to somehow get the workers back into the city. Last year, the Government Accountability Office concluded that 17 of the 24 largest federal agencies used on average only 25% of their office space. I don't know, what can you turn them into? Yoga studios, dance studios, apartments? How about this idea? For those who don't show up to work, well, you're obviously not that essential. This from Elon and Vivek's Wall Street Journal column. The number of federal employees to cut should be at least proportionate to the number of federal regulations that are nullified. Fewer employees required to enforce fewer regulations. But the agency would produce fewer regulations once its scope of authority is properly limited. Hear, hear. It is long since time to return power to the people. DOGE will rely both on the Constitution and Supreme Court precedent as the authority to enact these sweeping reforms. And again, this prospect is absolutely terrifying Democrats, bureaucrats, freeloaders, and all the companies that should never have gotten government contracts in the first place. The reflexive response of the swamp under scrutiny never changes, though. Lies and personal attacks.
There's no mandate here, but what there certainly should not be is a blank check to appoint a chaos cabinet like he's done. It's like the Star Wars cantina of cabinets, and it's going to really jeopardize America's safety.
Safety? Wait. Wasserman Schultz, safety? We have a president right now who can't find his way into a photo shoot authorizing Ukraine to shoot U.S.-made missiles deep into Russia. And she's talking about safety? Right now, Europe is on high alert because of what Biden, or Biden's puppet master, is doing to ramp up the aggression, almost begging Putin to respond. And all this is happening as our vice president is resting up after her loss in Hawaii. You cannot make this up. So none of this is acceptable. Their terrible record at home and abroad is the main reason that Harris lost. And they're not changing a darn thing, at least not yet. Who thinks Harris is even aware that the Pentagon authorized another $275 million for Ukraine today? Well, just another effort to Trump-proof our foreign policy and military expenditures. But everyone tonight, remember this, as the Trump-proofing continues. Donald Trump and the Republicans in Congress were elected because the American people do not trust our unelected bureaucrats to do the right thing. Too much money has been wasted over too many years. Too many mistakes have been made with zero repercussions. And now the bureaucrats in Washington are going to learn that Trump and the voters aren't kidding. We mean business. And this time, we're going to have our way. And that's the angle.
Fox News alert. Donald Trump just tapped former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi to be his next AG. This after Matt Gaetz withdrew his bid earlier today. We'll have more on that in a bit. But first, Biden's been soaking up his final days at the White House, and it's been a little lonely for the big guy. He tried throwing a birthday party, but Barack didn't show. Kamala's in Hawaii, and Nancy took away his cake.
Happy birthday, Joe. We got you a cake, but Nancy Pelosi insisted you sacrifice it for the good of democracy.
But today they let Joe out for some fresh air, and they even gave him a basketball.
I didn't know any of these guys behind me, but they just showed up. I don't know where the hell they came from. The balls. You're selling, right?
Biden's dribbling around the Rose Garden to "We Are the Champions," while the rest of the party is in mourning. Nance is still having nightmares.
Has it been 30 weeks? Just think of it as every morning that I get up and it's another morning of the reality, the reckoning.
Guess she's not coping too well after the coup. Pelosi is still saying it wasn't her fault.
Behind the scenes, you were very instrumental in encouraging President Biden to leave the race. Even before he did, polls were showing that the voters were very concerned about his age. Do you wish you had gotten involved earlier than you did?
Let me just say, the president made his own decision, and I salute him for his patriotism, for his selflessness, and the rest for the decision that he made.
The blame not slowing down because Democrats aren't over it.
America is about dollars and cents, sure, but we also pride ourselves in a capitalistic society and being about competition. Well, when did they face competition? You didn't allow anybody to compete against them. You didn't allow leftists or Democratic voters to pick a choice. So because you didn't do all of that, wait a minute, that's not our democratic society. Now, you didn't violate any laws. You didn't do anything unconstitutional, but that didn't mean that you were on the up and up. It didn't mean that you avoided being slick and shrewd and maneuvering your way through it. And then you turned around and tried to guilt us into voting for you.
The Raging Cajun says, point your finger somewhere else.
Biden. Then you can, after that, you can sort of assess blame. I think that Merrick Garland is going to go down as a man so respectful of tradition and so respectful of institutions that he was naive. He was trying to play by one set of rules and everybody's playing by another set of rules. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I think at the end of the day, he's just a horribly naive man that had no idea what he was up against.
Democrats are upset Biden didn't arrest Trump in time. They haven't learned anything.
Do you have a message for people on what they should do about this existential threat? Assuming that he still believes Donald Trump is an existential threat.
Look, his thoughts and what he said, his thinking on that has not changed. It has not.
So I thought we were supposed to get a peaceful transfer of power, but it's looking like another resistance. Biden's sabotaging Trump's plan to end the Ukraine war. He's handing Zelensky long-range American-made missiles, and he's shooting them deep into Russia. Now Putin's putting the nuclear option on the table. So before Trump even gets into office, he's going to have to wiggle his way out of World War III. Plus, Joe's sending every last dollar into Ukraine and billions more to his green buddies to build windmills and chargers. And now he's putting together a high-speed conveyor belt for migrants to come in before Trump does. He's giving, you remember the Open Table for Illegals app? It's getting an upgrade. Biden's new app lets Jose and Maria stay in the country and skip having to check in with ICE. It's really just an app to make illegals invisible. It's like an app to keep them in the shadows, so Tom Homan has a harder time finding them. This after DA Alvin Bragg's assistant just got mugged by an illegal Venezuelan gangbanger with a lengthy rap sheet. Meanwhile, Democrat governors and mayors are building a wall. But it's not the kind of wall you think. They're building walls of cops around their cities to keep ICE out.
We're not going to cooperate. We're not going to ask our police force to serve as ICE agents. Come on. Yeah. We're not going to do that. We're going to do everything in our power to protect people in this city. Everything. So in other words, we will do whatever is necessary.
It's unlawful. You can't use the military. You can't do mass deportations. We're not going to do that.
So, and the mayor of Denver says you're going to see Tiananmen Square like resistance. What does that mean? ICE agents are going to show up to Denver and they're going to get into a Mexican standoff with the local sheriff? Liberals are going to stand in front of ICE vans? What, to protect illegal rapists from getting picked up and flown home? ICE agents aren't calling the mayor of Denver and saying, you know, we're coming to 16th Street tomorrow at 7 o'clock to round up Biden migrants. No. It's not happening that way. These federal fugitive teams are going to show up whenever they want, wherever they want, and local yokel liberals aren't going to have a clue. No one's stopping that. Republicans have the will of the people at their back and walking around with a new confidence. The squad tried to get smart at a hearing yesterday, and Clay Higgins from Louisiana told her what time it is.
Please keep Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name out of your mouths. Yes. Your perversion of his words and his mission when his children have asked you to stop invoking his name and perverting his work when he was a proud and unapologetic black man. I'm not surprised that you would deny American history.
I appreciate my Democrat colleague for exemplifying exactly the kind of oppression of freedoms that we're referencing. How about we'll quote whoever we want to quote? That's exactly the kind of baked-in oppression. Like, how dare a white Republican quote Martin Luther King? We actually had a congressman say that just now.
Democrats are fracturing into two camps. The resistance faction, who learned nothing from November 5th and is going to basically lay sticks of dynamite down on the tracks of the Trump train. The other faction is going to start listening. They're going to pick their battles, but cooperate where they can. Millions on the left define themselves by what they're against, Trump. But now the resistance is kind of petering out. They don't know who they are. Newsom diagnosed it this way. He says, a lot of people feel like they're losing their identity or losing their future. And he's hitting the streets of California, kind of like Johnny, to figure out why his state moved right. But Gavin doesn't need a listening tour. It's common sense. Trump's already making plans to revive the Keystone Pipeline. Europe's preparing for a peace summit. And in Jerusalem, they're putting up banners that say, welcome back, dear friend. The world's ready to move on from Biden. America's ready. Even Democrats are ready. Joe's going to Nantucket for Thanksgiving, and he'll be deciding when Hunter gets his pardon, on Black Friday or on Inauguration Day. Maybe he'll stuff a pardon in his son's stocking on Christmas morning, even though he's been a naughty little boy.
Tonight we begin with a Fox News alert. It is another good night for Republicans. President-elect Donald Trump has announced his new pick for Attorney General. That is Pam Bondi. Now, this is a terrific nomination for many, many reasons. Now, Pam worked as a prosecutor for nearly 2 decades, was the first woman elected, two-time elected, Attorney General, the great state of Florida, where she served for 8 years. Pam Bondi, known for being tough on crime, worked hard to curb drug trafficking, pill mills in Florida, and during her tenure, Florida became one of the safest states in the country. Florida's balance of freedom and security is a big reason why people like me and so many others have decided to move to the great free state of Florida in the past decade. Now, as we continue, of course, during the election, one of the top concerns for voters, it was rising crime, wasn't it? Your small towns, big cities all across the country. This nomination is a clear sign that President-elect Trump intends to make good on his promise to make America safe again. If you need any more evidence than that, Pam Bondi will do a great job. Take a look at the reaction at MSDNC. Kind of priceless, actually. Take a look.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz.
I think Matt Gaetz, who saw that it politically was becoming untenable, I think they both share the same values in this sense, is we must not ever weaponize the Department of Justice. What they did to Donald Trump and people around him can never, ever happen again, ever. And we've got to restore institutions like the FBI, the CIA, to their former greatness, because they have been politicized, weaponized. That has to end. It can't be they go after us when they're in power, we go after them when they're in power. No, this has to end altogether. In other good news, Democrat sore loser Bob Casey, wow, amazing. He finally conceded weeks after Republican challenger Dave McCormick was declared the winner. Republicans now have a 53-seat majority in the U.S. Senate. Even though vote counting continues in California, the 2024 elections pretty much now in the rearview mirror. And after a humiliating loss, Democrats, they kind of stopped pretending. The mask is coming off. In other words, the big lie, they're not pretending anymore. They're no longer the party of hardworking, middle-class men and women, all of you watching this show, the people that make this country great. You get up, work hard, play by the rules, pay your taxes, obey the laws, take your kids to church, study with them at night, cook them at dinner. You make the country great, because they literally don't care. They don't care about the people that make America great. They are, West Coast elitists and East Coast elitists. Hollywood, San Francisco, New York, D.C., that's them. the DHS Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, the FBI Director, they won't even bother to show up for their annual hearing on threats to our homeland. By the way, threats created by Harris and Biden and Mayorkas and their insane open borders, crimes that should have been stopped by the FBI director, who had an opportunity to change course and reclaim the greatness of the finest law enforcement institution ever designed by man. And the first time in 15 years, America's top security officials will not tell you the state of safety and security in our country. Now, they're accused of skipping out to avoid, quote, awkward questions about the heinous murder of Laken Riley at the hands of an illegal immigrant just sentenced to life in prison. Should have gotten the death penalty, in my view. Sadly, Laken is only one of a long list. We show you this. We showed you this throughout the whole campaign. Americans murdered, raped, assaulted by unvetted Harris Biden illegal immigrants, who were welcomed into our country for now almost 4 straight years. But Alejandro Mayorkas and the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, they don't seem concerned to warn the American people. Christopher Wray's been saying the threat level's never been this bad. Now that the election is over, they're no longer pretending to care? In fact, the Biden administration, they just loosened illegal immigration restrictions. Yet again, Biden's DHS is now allowing all illegals who are abusing the asylum process, aided and abetted by Harris and Biden, to skip their in-person check-ins at an ICE office and just use an app that's not working too well to check in. According to FoxNews.com, quote, the app reportedly has severe glitching issues, does not track a migrant's location if he or she is using an Android phone or a laptop, and further, the app does not check illegal immigrants for past arrest, outstanding warrants. Now, what does that mean? That increases the odds dramatically that they will not be discovered ever again. That includes known terrorists in this country, murderers, rapists, gang members, cartel members, other violent criminals. In other words, Harris, Biden, Mayorkas, their legacy is one where they have literally put what they consider the rights, and there are no rights for illegal immigrants, but the rights of illegals in their mind over every single American safety and security, and they put it over the rule of law and our Constitution. One New York City council member remarked, this doesn't seem to be in the spirit of the peaceful transition that Biden promised. I don't think so. I think that city council member is right. And the problems don't stop there. According to a report from the House Judiciary Committee, criminals might actually be using Biden's lax parole program to traffic women, young girls across the border, sex trafficking, prostitution. The report also shows, quote, welfare recipients, people involved with criminal activity, and even other illegal immigrants have been approved as sponsors for those paroled after crossing the border illegally. Remember on the campaign trail when border czar Kamala Harris claimed she tried so hard to secure the border, but Republicans, they got in the way. No, her bill was an amnesty bill that will allow 2 million people in the country every year, unvetted, of course, and it also gave them discretion not to enforce the law. She was straight up lying. But now she's at it once again, totally unbothered by what has been. Kamala Harris, still vice president, still border czar, on a lavish vacation in Hawaii. Not a care in the world. And as for your president, Joe Biden, he's still president. The days are short, the naps are long, and the ability to do much of anything is waning before our very eyes. Take a look.
I didn't know any of these guys behind me, but they just showed up. I don't know where the hell they came from. 2024 NBA champions, the Bulls. You're Celtics, right? The Boston Celtics.
Why is that not funny? A sad, tragic end to a terrible presidency. And while Democrats, while they struggle to pick up the pieces, maybe they could take some notes from Donald Trump. Voters love the president's authenticity. They love that the president-elect says what he believes. And with Democrats during an election, it's all smoke and it's all mirrors and it's all lies and it's all name-calling. It's all demagoguery. I mean, it's all disgusting and repulsive, to be honest. And frankly, it's exhausting. Even disgraced former NBC News anchor Brian Williams, who himself, to be honest, knows a thing or two about smoke and mirrors, he can see what's happening. And maybe that expertise actually helped him perfectly diagnose the failures of the Democratic Party. Take a look at this.
It is tough love time for the Democratic Party. I think it needs to be stripped down and rebuilt. I think that means a change in leadership. I want to know who thought it was a good idea that Joe Biden stand for another 4 years at 80 years of age and 37% popularity. I think it's insulting when members of the working class, which the Democratic Party has lost entirely in our lifetimes, to insist the economy is doing great. I think the biggest unforced error of the Biden administration by far was the border. To tell people it's not a problem is insulting.
Great analysis. Here's the problem. Brian, why didn't you tell the country before the election? And will Democrats actually learn from this loss? All indications are they will not. The party is now so radical extreme left, it might be past the point of no return.
So, as Anheuser-Busch has learned, one bad ad can really mess up your whole year. That company put a transgender person's face on a can of Bud Light, and their stock crashed. Turns out most guys don't want to mix cheap beer and chicks with and they also don't want to be told that they're bigots for feeling that way. But what about a more upscale brand, like, say, luxury cars? Jaguar just unveiled a new ad campaign, and it's got everyone talking when they aren't actually puking. And yes, the obvious point will be made, if they're talking about it, then it worked, right? I mean, Alec Baldwin had everyone talking about Rust. Not sure that sold movie tickets. Roll it, Jurgen.
Is this a circus?
What the hell was that? Was that a lineup of all the previous Biden-Harris cabinet picks? It's weird. It's like Toucan Sam followed his nose into a huge pile of cocaine. It looked more like a Cudlow hot tub party than a car ad. And look, if I want to see unattractive men in heavy makeup, I'll watch Jesse Waters Primetime. And what's with the slogans? Create exuberant? Was that translated from Fabio's dating profile? Live vivid? Sounds like something the handsy drama teacher wrote in everyone's yearbook. Copy nothing. Sounds like the Asian kid I sat next to in algebra right before every test. But I haven't seen that many empty slogans since Kamala lost. Of course, all that was missing in the ad was a car. Now, on one level, the ad agency did its job. It made a splash on social media. But then again, if I took a giant dump on a plate of mashed potatoes and put it online, I'm pretty sure that would cause a splash too. Which is the point. The people Jaguar is appeasing is on social media, which I guess are gay Martian carnival freaks who don't buy Jaguars. But as one Jaguar exec said, the goal is to make you feel uncomfortable. You did it. But hey, if I want to be uncomfortable, I'll go to Britt Hume's annual massage weekend in Sag Harbor. Not invited, huh? If you want to cause distress, you could have saved a whole bunch of money and just showed Joe Biden eating a baby.
Brett Hume massage party. Wow.
Now, a lot of people assume Jaguar has gone woke. Well, thanks for the connecting the dots, Matlock. Last month, Jaguar took part in a Attitude Awards, which honored gay icons like Elton John and people who aren't Elton John. Jaguar's head of brand strategy, a BLM supporting designer, spoke at the event. Watch.
At Jaguar, we're passionate about our people, and we're committed to fostering a diverse, inclusive, and unified culture. And we're on a transformative journey of our own. driven by a belief in diversity, inclusion, creativity, policy, and most importantly, action. We've established over 15 DEI groups. We've launched major policy revisions such as transitioning at work to drive equity and support for our communities, embracing individuality as our superpower.
Oh, shut the f*** up. It's a car company, for Christ's sake, not Drag Queen Story Hour. How about telling me how many friggin' cup holders it has? He used more woke buzzwords than Joy Reid saying grace on Thanksgiving. Diverse, inclusive, unified culture. I can't believe Biden didn't put him in charge of nuclear waste. And he boasted that Jaguar has 15 DEI groups. Now, the last time I checked Pornhub, there aren't that many races. But it's not just one DEI group, it's 15, which is evidence of the parasitic consequences of a competing but non-profit-making goal. And none of them participate in the company's mission, which is to make a great car that turns a profit. Instead, with its own competing goal, which is self-preservation, it only grows like a cancer within every company it inhabits. I'm willing to bet at Jaguar there are more DEI administrators than car designers. I can't wait to see what the car looks like. Want to bet it's an automatic, but identifies as a stick? Let's welcome tonight's guest. She once got drunk with Dow and Jones. Financial analyst Hemis Jubaraga. He invented the employees must wash their hands sign. Chef and restaurant owner Andrew Gruel. And to avoid Thanksgiving arguments, her family doesn't bring up eminent domain. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Captain. And the last time he put his foot down, he made the Grand Canyon. New York Times bestselling author. Heather, you are a business expert, and I know that by doing this segment, you're going to get a company like that to say, see, it worked. So do you think this was just a ruse to get people like me talking about it? And did the ruse succeed?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you look at the stock price. Look at Bud Light, for example, and their stock plummeted, which you did mention. So, I mean, you got to look at what Wall Street thinks of these things. I mean, I bet the stock will take a hit if it hasn't already. It's another really bad business decision. If you're trying to broaden your base and you have a diversified consumer base to start with, well, you don't want to upset the people that are currently buying your cars who think this is just flat out like weird. It's a little bit weird. So if you're going to alienate your customer base, it's a really bad business decision. It takes a lifetime to build a brand, but a second to destroy it. And that's what they've done.
Don't I know it? I've been trying to destroy Kilmeade's brand forever. But you make a point that, like, they are risking people who buy their cars on people who likely won't, Andrew. I thought that maybe this was a stunt, but then I saw the tape with the head of strategy, and he was vomiting all the catchphrases, and I'm going, well, maybe this guy is for real, and his head is up his ass.
Yeah, it is, and he hasn't found his T-bone yet. Could you imagine me standing up at a restaurant conference and talking about the grand transition between like a double cheeseburger and a truffle roasted chicken, and all my employees are like, wait, we have to do that? I don't look at this through the lens of woke, though, because I think America's pushed back on woke. We know that. That's the undercurrent here. What this is this is just bad marketing, right? As a chef, I'm also a marketer, so consider me the CMO on this panel. And what happened is that all these people are just completely inoculated in their cloistered quarters on the Upper East Side, and they were trying to do an abstract rendition of like Wicked from Broadway, but it really turned into like Wicked on hallucinogenics down on the Lower East Side, or like Springfield, Ohio. And these guys are sitting around. I mean, to be honest, it's an intellectual circle jerk, and they're so proud of each other, right? They are so proud of each other, and they're going to say exactly like what you said. Oh, but look at all attention is great attention. Who are they targeting here? Yeah. Who's their target market? Tom Elliott, Paul Krugman? I mean, these guys are just riding fixie bikes around anyway. They don't need a Jaguar.
Yes. You know, Kat, I am grateful to this because we got an A block without having to do politics.
Yeah, me too.
And we got to, and it's such a good little break. But at the same time, we didn't fall for a stunt. Is this a stunt or not a stunt?
No, because I don't think this ad did what it wanted to do. Because it said those words on the screen, one of them was copy nothing. But to me, there was a lot of copying. I actually thought nothing about this ad was original.
No, you're right.
Like a man in a dress with techno music behind him is not a novel concept, like,
Yes.
right? Like, you think that's original? Somebody's never been to Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
You think this is gonna make me uncomfortable? You have no idea the I've seen.
No, it's true. This is Sunday brunch on 11th and 42nd.
Yes, it is. It's contrived. It's the fact I love weird.
Yeah.
I love weird. I love interesting. I love to be like, whoa, why would that person do that? I love, this is not that. This is it's just like a cookie cutter version of something that thinks it's that, which to me, that's a flop, and that's kind of embarrassing.
Tyrus.
Well, I hate. No, clap. They're like, too close to the black guy. He's nervous. I hate to make this political, but I have to.
Okay.
Okay, I am outraged. I'm furious. And I can't believe no one here saw it, this racist bull that's in front of us. Why is the Asian guy got to be in yellow? Why is that? How did they get away with that?
Interesting.
Where's the Hispanic guy in there? I don't see him.
Where are the plus sized?
Yes. Oh, he's plus the Asian, the racist Asian guy is plus shaming. He got a fake belly roll.
Yeah.
You know what happened, Greg?
What?
That individual said, we're working on the thing, and the owner was like, when can I see it? And they had a big presentation, and they showed him that. And as he sat there contemplating killing him, he asked, how much did this cost? $14 million. When's the car come in? We haven't got there yet. Run it.
Yeah.
Because they got to make up for their money, and then when it happens, then they can fire him and now he knows how many DEI people. Groups.
Yeah.
15 groups.
Yes. Incredible.
They were so bad they couldn't be one group.
Yes.
They had to spread them out into 15 of them. They had DEI fights, so they had to have 15 groups. And all 15 groups and homie that was speaking couldn't figure out that it's racist to make the Asian guy wear the yellow. Did not we learn nothing from Power Rangers?
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.